We were in the paper, in the local paper. You may argue, why are you even involved? Why? You're not even French. Hi, I'm Sandy, and this is a new series. This is Storysharing Sunday. I'm just really here to share my stories, my insights on different topics, dance related of course, so that you get a better insight of who the person is behind the content on this channel that you are likely subscribed to or will subscribe. I don't know why you clicked on this video, but yeah, so let me just share a little bit about myself and how I got to where I am now and what drives me to create the pieces that I'm creating. You'll be pleased to know that I redid this video because I did that yesterday, and when I started editing I noticed that I used a lot, like a lot. So I did you a favor in redoing the video because that would have turned into a drinking game and it's not amazing. So let me tell you how I got involved in Bastille Day Festival Reading, because you may argue, why are you even involved? Why? You're not even French. You're right. So today's video is how we ended up in the local paper, for a good reason, in the Reading Chronicle on the 18th of July 2024. So here we are. Oh la la, Bastille Day celebrations. 2 pictures up there. And one, oops, down there. Which is pretty amazing, considering that most of the coverage is about the reenactment group, which is also on the front page, and they deserve it. It's the, oops. Yeah, we had nothing to do with them, but nonetheless, it's them and us that are featured in there, which is amazing. Very, very chuffed for myself as well as for my students, because they work really, really hard and they learn my choreographies and then perform them in public, and just to, you know, to cheer up our community, which is fabulous. How did we end up in the paper? This is not as straightforward as you think it is. It's funny how life unfolds sometimes with no intention of something to come to fruition, and then it just weaves together and there you have it. And then suddenly, well, it's not suddenly, but then we are in the paper. The reason why we got into the paper mostly is because we're doing the Cancan. So 10 years ago, about 10 years ago, I used to go to French lessons at a college here in Reading. So the French teacher told us about meetup groups that were happening locally in a restaurant. So at the meetup, I met one of the original organizers of the Bastille Day Festival Reading. So naturally, it came up that Bastille Day Festival Reading is happening, and she was looking for volunteers to help with the setup of the park, to spread the word, to decorate the park. Now, I'm an artist, not only in the dance environment, but I also paint and I like to create things. And I volunteered to help decorate the park. And for that, I was provided materials from Hobbycraft to create several things for the park, which is great. I love community events. I love these local get-together festivals that are being created by local people. Now, yes, this is French themed, but we are in the UK, and it is just nice to celebrate something. This is not just for French people, because you could argue and say, like, why did you get involved? You're not French. I love these kind of events because it brings people together. It gives people the opportunity to go somewhere without spending a lot of money. It's a family affair as such. it's a family event. You can take anyone, you can go with your friends, you can go with your kids, you can go, it's outdoors, it's lovely. Okay, granted, in the UK you're never guaranteed that it's not gonna rain, but so far, fingers crossed, we've always been lucky when it comes to Bastille Day Festival Reading. So yeah, I just love these kind of things. So I was volunteering. I started going to those meetings because you were discussing what is required, everything to the build-up. Now that was in 2014, in preparation for the Bastille Day Festival Reading 2015. At that time, I attended belly dance classes at the Santa Maria Belly Dance Academy. And when we were having those meetings, they were talking about entertainment and that they were struggling to find people to perform at the event. So they were trying to find loads of different ways how to attract people to come to the event. And because I was a student at the, well, I still am, at the Santa Maria Belly Dance Academy, and we had been performing at different local festivals, I said, let me ask my teacher if our school, if our students at the school can perform. And they said, oh, okay, fine. Now that was all strictly belly dance. That's all we were doing at the school. We were doing belly dance. It's the Santa Maria Belly Dance Academy. That's what it's all about. So I spoke to Helen, and Helen said, yes, that would be lovely. And so the very first time we performed was in 2015, and it was purely belly dance. And it was lovely, and it was well received. We were asked to come back the following year. In 2016, we went back, and as well as dancing, I believe that was the year, but you know, Facebook is your friend. I'm gonna check out all the photos. I'm gonna show you all the photos that are relevant to my story that I'm telling today. My friend is a fashion designer, and we were doing a little catwalk at the event. I think it was in 2016. So we were doing the catwalk and the dancing, and in 2015 and 2016 I was also giving a stall as an artist. So I had my artwork displayed at the event as well, which was lovely. So in 2015 I also started my teacher apprenticeship with Helen. And then later that year I started teaching for the Rachel Bennett School of Belly Dance, and then also for the SMBA, Santa Maria Belly Dance Academy. We wanted to bring the event to more people, so we expanded and invited more people to perform. We had dancers from the SMBA, the RBSB, and from ALS Yavahir. We had a good presence. Again, it was all belly dance related only belly dancing, because that's what the schools are about and that's what the community is about. And there's nothing wrong with that, of course. But since the organizers started asking us to come back the following year and we enjoyed it so much, I started thinking themed. Instead of performing our belly dance routines that we have learned, I wanted to bring more French flair to our performances. And because I started teaching in 2015, I then also started teaching for myself in 2016. So I had my own groups outside of the belly dance schools, and I could combine belly dance with show dance. And therefore, I was at liberty to choose French songs and create choreographies to those songs to then perform them. And in 2019, I introduced the Cancan, the French Cancan. And this is so funny because to me, I just remember as a child watching a summer program on TV. We didn't have mobile phones or all this, right? So we had the summer show, and the theme tune, like before it started, That was the song.
Hallo, Leute, es sind Ferien, alle machen blau von Flensburg bis nach Oberammergau, denn es sind Ferien. Und mit viel Tamtam und Information steigt wieder unser Ferienprogramm.
You see, this is why I love the internet. When I found this, I realized that that's not even how I remembered it. I didn't remember it like this, and it's so fantastic that I can find this now in my head. I didn't even realize, or in my memory, I didn't realize that there were lyrics to the song. But now I remember I would have sung along for sure. I mean, how amazing is it? You're talking about something pops up in your head, and then you go into the internet, you Google it, and there it is, and you can share it. So now I'm sharing that with you. The first time that I created this, the first time that I had this idea of doing the Cancan, that was in my head. You know, like, oh, I know this music, let's do this. It's crazy, isn't it? The Cancan song, so it has always been in my head, and I loved it, and it's cheerful. So I was like, yeah, let's do the Cancan. I also created a choreography to Chanson d'amour, which was really well received, as well as the Cancan, because we were actually asked to bring that one back by one of the regulars that are having their own stalls at the Bastille Day Fest Reading. So for that lady, we're going to bring it back next year.
Chanson, chanson d'amour.
Next year will be 10 years. Wow. So yes, so then started being a little bit more French themed for all of this, because I had my own classes. I could choose the French music and then create pieces accordingly for the event specifically. Doesn't mean that we didn't perform it somewhere else, but it was specifically designed for Bastille Day Festival Reading. And I'm really, really grateful for that, because without the event, there are pieces of choreographies that I would have otherwise never created.
Sur l'avenue, le cœur ouvert à l'inconnu, j'avais envie de dire bonjour à n'importe qui.
I would not have chosen the music to start off with, because there was no link to it. There was no reason for me to go there. But now that we had this event, I searched actively for French songs that we could create a nice presentation to.
Mon cadeau c'est l'automne. Mon cadeau c'est l'automne. Ta saison à toi.
So that's how it started, and then I created more and more French themed pieces for the event, and I continued to do so. Next month in September, I already have a new workshop for my students ready, and it was inspired by the opening ceremony of the Olympics, because obviously that was in Paris. So I watched it attentively and immediately was inspired to create a new choreography, and so we're learning that next month, and then in 2025 we're bringing it to the Bastille Day Festival Reading. Yay! The Cancan, the French Cancan, I always wanted to make sure that our performances are not getting boring. So because you would think, okay, the Cancan can only be that one thing, but actually there are several different musics for a Cancan that can be used. And so what I do is when I do a workshop for the students to learn the dance to then perform it at Bastille Day Festival, I choose different music. I mean, sometimes it's just a different version of it. 2019, we brought it to the Bastille Day Festival for the first time. Then 2020, unfortunately, there was no Bastille Day Festival Reading because everything was cancelled because COVID was around. So we didn't have that. Now, unfortunately, as an aftermath of this, we could also not perform at the 2021 festival, even though it was back by then, because it is not so much that we wouldn't have been available for that date, but you need to have the time beforehand to practice the dances, which means you have to get together in a room, in a group, to learn the dances. And unfortunately, because of COVID, there were restrictions all the time. There were limitations of who can get together. And then there was also the risk. Do you really want to risk it to then catch it? So unfortunately, because of COVID, we missed 2 years of performing at Bastille Day Festival Reading. But then in 2022, we were right back. But we were back only with the belly fairies because it was easier for me to manage. At that point, I wasn't teaching group classes. And with the belly fairies, it's a small group. We were able to practice outdoors. We were practicing outdoors in each other's gardens. And then August, that's when we were allowed to meet in groups again indoors, I believe. And so the belly fairies, we were able to get together, and because the belly fairies are at a level that learn really quickly, I was able to teach them several pieces that we could then perform in 2022. In 2023, we came back with more students because I was able to do workshops again. And so we brought a little umbrella dance to Elysees to the table, and a new version of the Cancan again. And then this year, 2024, because I went back full-time teaching, we were able to perform again with the belly fairies and more students. And I'm already looking forward to next year. As I said, I'm already inspired. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a new Cancan version again. And yeah, so that's how it came about. So in a nutshell, it was me learning French at school, then taking up lessons to continue my language skills here in Reading, being told that there are meetup groups for Francophones to meet to practice their French, to then meeting the organizer of the Bastille Day Festival Reading, then for me to having grown up in a place where there were festivities all the time where I was involved in, to also having started belly dance lessons in 2011 and having performed at different festivals with that school, because if that hadn't happened, I would have never mentioned it, I would have never suggested it, because I wouldn't have known that this is what can be done. To then, helping out as an artist, making the connection with the dancing, and then getting the school involved, and then from that one we introduced more dancers to join, from me becoming a teacher myself, and then creating French themed pieces that also then led to the Cancan, and then we ended up in the paper. It's just crazy how life works sometimes. I think it's just so full of surprises. You just need to, sometimes you don't know that one thing leads to another. And then also thank you so much to my students that are so fired up to learn a new piece, to perform it there. We all love the Bastille Day Festival Reading, and I'm telling you one thing, not one of my students, none of us are French. We are from different parts of the world, but none of us are actually French. And that's what I tried to say earlier as well. We live here, we're not French. It's a French-themed event. It's an important part of French history that is being celebrated, and it's raising awareness of a different culture, because the UK is so diverse. You have so many different nationalities here, and I personally think it's wonderful. You meet people and you're always learning something new, because people come from different places. They eat differently, they have different music, they grow up differently. I mean, even just like in the same country, if you just take England, all the different accents that you have, like going like from south to north to west to east, and it's just wonderful. And now expand that to even more. I just love it. I think it's one of the best things. How else can you communicate unless you understand that people work differently? People just, we don't all think the same. We just don't. Choreography, for example, right? You could take one song, 10 choreographers, and we all come up with a different dance. Some may be similar, but there are different things in the music that you hear. So, and then your whole upbringing just influences everything that you do, the decisions that you make. It's just wonderful. I hope you enjoyed this chat. I definitely did, because I like revisiting how things came about. And because sometimes you just go like, oh yeah, we're doing this now because it's been 10 years. Well, it's going to be 10 years next year. And we are just doing this. But then you think about it, how did we get there? How did it all start? What was the key moment? I mean, it's not like that I went, oh, there's a festival, let me ask if we can do the Cancan there. That's not how it worked. That's not how it, I would have, without Bastille Day Festival Reading, I would have never thought to do the Cancan. I don't think so. And yeah, and even like my students, they are just wonderful. They go with me in all those different directions. We all started off with belly dance. Some of us, of course, have experience in other dances, like I did ballet and jazz when I was younger. It's just fantastic how they embrace the different types of dance, the culture. It's lovely. I think it's wonderful. Yes, so I like this new series, and I will be sharing some more of my stories and my point of views, if that is what you're interested in. I didn't really want to do like a podcast. I didn't want to do an interview. I just like to talk about these kind of things, because things will pop into my head that are related that would make everything else very confusing. So I'm just talking to you as if I would with a friend if I were to tell the story. I hope you enjoyed our little coffee talk. No more M's. I see you in the next episode. Bye.